Welcome back once again. It is Bones, and in this one, let's go ahead and do a topic video. Now, I do these every once in a while when there's something that I want to talk about and discuss in the toy and action figure collecting community. Now, today it's going to be about licensing changes in toy lines. We may be seeing some of these coming up. It could happen, but nobody knows. For right now, it is just speculation. Now, I'll mainly be covering retail toy lines, which will be Hasbro, Jada, Jax, Mattel, McFarlane, and NECA. Now we are barreling towards the end of the year of our Lord 2024, so we may end up seeing some major shakeups. But then again, in the end, we do not know for sure. Some licenses may be up for grabs, but we still do not know a definitive outcome. Now, this got brought up because in my feed, a video from Bobby Valla from Valaverse came up and he was talking about this. Now, he did kind of skirt over a lot of issues, and in all reality, I don't know him. So I do know that he runs Valaverse and it's his own company. In his comments, it was very interesting because you had people like against him and telling him that he doesn't know what he's talking about. But I mean, the guy owns his own company that's pretty successful from what I've seen. You do have people on his side saying that he made a lot of sense, but I mean, who knows? I'm pretty much in the middle. So, like I said, I don't know a lot about him, don't know any drama or anything like that besides little snippets that I've heard here on the interwebs. I was surprised to read the comments. It was pretty hilarious. I mean, people were going, from one end of the spectrum to the other. But one of the main things I heard in there was he did reference McFarlane quite a bit. And at one point, he did say that talk everything you want to about McFarlane, but one thing he is doing is moving units. He's doing a lot of sales and expanding his IPs and different properties, in turn, expanding his McFarlane Toys company. So that's what I heard. And then directly into the comments, you had a lot of people basically saying that if McFarlane was to get Marvel Legends, that they would stop collecting completely. Your same worm rhetoric that McFarlane sucks. He only makes statues. His eyes point to the side, which I mean, we haven't seen in a long time. So I don't know why they're referencing that. And of course, the main thing was that they hate the 7-inch McFarlane scale. I think I saw even somebody said, like, nobody makes 7-inch. And I mean, the first thing that popped in my head was there is Super 7, there is NECA. I think Mattel is pretty much closer to 7-inch than it is to 6-inch. Could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that they're a taller figure than the 6-inch standard that Hasbro makes for all of their lines. And if you know me, if you follow my channel, I'm open to whatever. It doesn't really change anything about me. I mean, whoever has the DC line is the company that I will support and buy the figures. I mean, I do have to look at them first. If I see them and I'm like, then I'm not gonna dive in enthusiastically. But for the most part, I have collected various generations of DC Universe figures, from DC superheroes to DC classics, all the way through Mattel, DC Multiverse, and now into McFarlane's DC Multiverse. So nothing's going to change for me. In fact, let's spice up life a little bit at least. But for the most part, I do think McFarlane has a pretty strong grip on DC at this moment. That would be with his expansion of the line, his good sales, and even resurrecting DC Direct. So it's going to be pretty hard to see McFarlane losing the license anytime soon. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there hoping for that, but just doesn't look like it is in the cards for now. Now, with this topic coming up, there is tons of possibility, very different configurations that could happen. I mean, just to get out there, you could have Jada picking up Marvel Legends or even picking up the DC license, which, like I said, it would be interesting, definitely for sure. Now, I know Jack's Toys has been doing WWE figures forever, and they do a really good job at that. They have a lot of accessories, a lot of different versions of wrestlers. I'm not a big figure, wrestling collector, but I do respect those who do and have large collections, and they do keep it pretty interesting and eye-catching in the toy aisle. You see different years of wrestlers, newer generations, old school ones, so pretty cool. Now, the only thing I would think is I've heard that they did like He Man kind of styled figures. So, what if Jack's Pacific ended up picking up the He Man license? Now, I know Mattel has a grip on that one. They're making even sublines of the Masters of the Universe. So, the chances are very slim that Mattel would, lose that license or give it up. But I'm just putting possibilities out there. Like, open your mind and think how things would be different. Although in the end, you got to just let things play out because these are not things that we are in control of. So that's why I was kind of referencing people saying, "Oh, I'm done collecting. I'm out of here. I don't want any McFarlane Marvel Legends." But you don't need to blow a gasket. Just let everything play out and take it as it comes. Now, I know NECA is pretty comfortable where they're at. They do make a higher priced figure or collectible, which is their main thing. But I would suggest that they stick to their bread and butter, which is like horror, action movies, stuff like that. Maybe even some music stuff in there. Some musical artist figures from them are always nice, but they have their own little corner of the collecting market. I don't really see them getting a license for like a big mass universe which needs to release different figures like every couple of months. I just don't see that in NECA. Like I said, I'm not the biggest NECA collector. I do have like gargoyles and of course the Defenders I was a fan of. But I just feel right now NECA has its, comfort zone, and they'd be really tentative to dip their toes outside of that zone. Oof. And we haven't even really talked about Hasbro yet, which of course they have their own IPs, which is like G.I. Joe, Transformers, My Little Pony, Dungeons and Dragons, and at the same time they have some big licenses connected to Disney, which of course is Marvel Legends and Star Wars. So they have a lot on their plate, so I don't really see them making any drastic moves, but you never can tell. They are starting to sub license a lot of their stuff, or maybe Disney is doing that, like letting McFarlane do Marvel statues. But even Hasbro has relented and given McFarlane some G.I. Joe and some Transformer stuff. Nothing big or major, but it is a slight shift in the whole toy landscape. But once again, for now, it is one big guessing game. Getting into McFarlane finally, one of the big misconceptions is that McFarlane wants to make 6-inch Marvel Legends, which, they have the license for that scale. So I don't really see that happening. Not only because Hasbro loves that license and has been with it for years, even though they do not own that license that is owned by Disney. And of course, McFarlane has recently made a pretty good working relationship with Disney, who, in fact, I would have to say is the ones that let McFarlane do the Marvel statues. Now, although McFarlane himself has said that he's kind of going to stay away from any posable figures as to not step on any toes of Hasbro or, ask for too much from Disney, but it is still, open to discussion. And while a lot of Marvel Legends, fanboys have a shiver in their timber of McFarlane making 6-inch Legends figures. I just don't think it's going to happen. And it doesn't even really make sense in a company production point of view. And what I'm saying is that McFarlane has built these last years doing DC Multiverse at 7-inch scale. And that means everything that he's produced, the molds, everything is 7-inch, the vehicles, the accessories. It just doesn't make any sense to change everything and go into producing 6-inch scaled figures. Now, this does leave the door open for Hasbro to make DC figures in a 6-inch scale, which would be, interesting as well. But I just don't think that would be too conducive to sales in the market because you would have battling companies doing the same characters and IP, and the shelves would just get too, discombobulated and muddled. So I don't see that happening. Now, we do know that Marvel Select is actually the holder of the 7-inch scale for Marvel. And you can tell they don't produce as many figures as Marvel Legends. But I do have to say that from what I've seen, a lot of the times the Marvel Selects are far superior in sculpt and design. Now, this would have to be because it is a 7-inch scale, which is a little bit easier to work with because of the size. They also have not adopted a lot of things that Marvel Legends does, like reusing a lot of accessories and body molds. So they do have their little corner of the Marvel Universe. But if McFarlane was to get the 7-inch license, who knows how that would happen? But, this is just a conversation, just ideas getting thrown around. It would make a lot more sense. The reason being that he could repurpose a lot of the molds and a lot of the accessories and productions that he has already started, just kind of reworking them and doing a little tweaking, building a little bit more molds, but changing them to adapt to a Marvel character. Now we have seen the internet, pretty full of customs of people using McFarlane parts to make Marvel characters. And a lot of the times they do look pretty awesome. Once again, being because of the different parts, the different detailed sculpt and texture that McFarlane uses, these customs just tend to be really eye catching. Now, if there is a negative, it is kind of weird because if you were to collect this 7-inch scale Marvel characters, which I don't think will happen, but if you were to, you would really be getting the best of both worlds. Seeing as how McFarlane at this point has, taken out a lot of the bugs and tweaked up his production, the cloth wired capes, the head sculpts are coming out really awesome, especially for comic book style figures. Articulation is always improving month after month to where now when you open a McFarlane, you are very surprised at how much it has advanced over the years. More accessories, alternate head sculpts, going into using face plates, which is a new thing they've started doing this year. I mean, these collectors would be benefiting after, DC Multiverse had, its ups and downs in the first years. Now that McFarlane is hitting his stride in execution and production and scaling, now would be the perfect time to add in some Marvel characters. Now, although once again, it is unlikely that any of this will happen, more than likely, everybody will stay in their comfort zone and not really make any moves, but it is pure speculation up to this point, and we'll have to go ahead and wait and see how the cards play out. But anyways, guys, let me know what you guys think down below. Let's keep it lighthearted and have a good discussion. But as always, keep hunting out there, keep collecting, keep customizing, and I will see you on the next one.
Use the comic Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Batman.